This is Mike Vickers from Leather Lung, and you are watching Seismic Sounds.
All right. Seismic Sounds. Thanks to everyone for tuning in once again this week. As I'd like to welcome my guest on this episode, as I've got one of the busiest and most important figures in the heavy rock scene today, from High Desert Queen and Ripplefest Texas. We got Mr. Ryan Garney joining us today. What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Pleasure to be here again, Matt.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Like I said, thanks for taking the time. I know you're very busy, man. You know, big week for you, as we were just kind of chatting before we came on here. And of course, that has a lot to do with this right here. Palm Reader, available now for everyone to check out. And Ryan, man, the first thing that jumped out to me was just how you guys, I mean, there's a couple of things, but one of the first things was obviously you definitely, I think, upped the heavy on this record in all areas, man. It's a real heavy record. Thunderous, I would say, is the word. And we'll get into that in a minute. But the other thing that jumped out to me, too, was just how well this record really flows, man. When you listen to, from start to finish, from the first track, Ancient Aliens, the first single, and from there, it's just a steady current of thunderous. Like I said, that word thunder just comes to me on this record. Thunderous and real hard stomping grooves. It really gets you locked in as a listener for the whole journey, once you press play. And then really the next thing you know, when the album's done, man, it leaves you wanting more. It goes so fast. It flows so nicely. And I'm just going to get, from my opinion, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that really the songs seem less, I guess, structured. It seems a little bit more free-flowing, maybe jam-oriented in certain parts, obviously. So was that one of the goals of the band, was to maybe go a little bit more less structured and maybe not overthink things and kind of let it flow more on this record?
Yeah, I definitely think so. There's a drastic difference between this record and our first record, at least to us as a band. First record being about 70% of that record was the guitar player and I kind of mapping everything out virtually, because we were living several hours apart from each other, and then having Phil come in and be a studio drummer, and then immediately we knew right away it's the guy that we want, and he was all about it too. And fast forward to this record, where it's the first record that the four of us, adding Morgan into the mix as well, Rusty's daughter on bass. The first time the four of us have gotten into the room and writing together. And I think that we were very cognizant of the idea that we did not care about genre. We did not care about what kind of song we wrote. It was just about what sounded good. We really, honestly, that was our whole focus. And we're writing more for the song than for anything else, not an audience, anything else. And then when we got into the studio to record the record, to have, you said, some of that looseness that truly comes out, because there's 3 songs this record we wrote literally in one night in the studio. We had a whole album's worth of music. We went into the studio to record, and we didn't even get to some of the of those songs, because when we were getting levels and checking, levels on drums and guitars and bass to do our scratch tracks, and to try to track drums as well, we wrote 3 songs completely from scratch. And so I think that definitely has that feel. We didn't even have time to structure anything out, on those. And we didn't care about structure. We don't care about, okay, 4 measures here and then a chorus, whatever. We don't want that. We really didn't want that at all. And then also the idea, I think what really helped us writing those songs, the record, is we went to this incredible studio out here in Texas called Yellow Dog Studios that Phil, our drummer, has done a lot of work in. He's done a lot of session work there, all kinds of music, from Texas country to funk to blues to bands like the Meat Puppets and things like that have gone through there. So it's really cool that we went there. But it's a great atmosphere, and we wanted to record the album live, not to a click track, no, very minimal overdubs. If there were imperfections in there, leave them.
Nice.
We wanted, we might play a song and go, all right, let's do it again. and then we just basically picked what was the best performance of those songs for the record. And so we really, that was a mindset we had going in the studio, and I think it kind of paid off on how raw and how the word you put, thunderous. It's more aggressive, just because we were like we're kind of just letting it hang out. Hey, let's just go. Let's just see how this comes out. Have fun with it. Don't worry. Let Phil take us on the journey of speeding us up and slowing us down when we needed to. And then of course they did an amazing job tracking it. And then we have, at Casey Johns was their engineer at Yellow Dog, is a fantastic job. And then giving it to Carl Daniel Leiden, in Sweden, who's done the likes of Lowrider and Domcraft and Greenleaf and Dozer and all these bands we look up to mix and master it. So it was definitely a combination. We were very happy with the results.
Yeah, no, I mean, and like you said, speaking of Carl, like you said, I can imagine, once, I know you guys used him, obviously, I believe on the last record too. And I think, if there's anyone who knows really how to work, I think on a heavy rock record and just give it that punch and sonic blast within that mix, it's definitely him. I mean, and it's got to be for you guys when you get a guy like that. I mean, it's not only is it obviously exciting and just, rewarding to have that come from him, but it's just got to also be a bit calming knowing that, okay, once you're finished and you've got that end product, you give it to him, he's going to put just a hell of a stamp on that thing and make it special, right?
Right.
I mean,
right. We just know we need to get good track, good takes, good performances, because you can record things perfectly, but it doesn't have the mojo. It has to, it had to have the takes. And we felt like we got those, because there were some songs that we were hell bent on putting on this record that we felt like for whatever reason. And then we go back and thinking about it, the performance wasn't what we wanted, and we go back and think about it, we're like, oh well, we tracked that, after we had spent 6 hours in the studio, we were probably just tanked, and it just didn't work. So we were like, shelve it for the next record, because we did not want anything that did not reflect a high level of play. But yeah, he's so good. You think it would be simple to mix a band like us that has one guitar, one bass, one vocal, one drums, right? But it's very important that everything has its place and in its space. And I think that Daniel does a great job when he's mixing and mastering in Sweden of like knowing where everything fits, sonically. And we wanted it to sound big and live and raw. And it was good because he's like, well, he does a lot of like super produced stuff, and he does some raw stuff. He kind of does it all. And so we felt very confident when we gave it to him. And literally I can't think of any notes we gave him when he sent it to us. Like when he sent it to us and we listened to it, we're like, okay, it's done. There's no bring some of this up or take some of this down. It was done.
Yeah. No, it came out fantastic, man. And we were talking before about, up in the heaviness on the record. And I'm glad you said that, you went into it not thinking of any genres. I think that's the thing sometimes with some bands go into, wanting to sound a certain way. And you could tell in this record that you guys didn't, because it's got even there's some like doomy stuff. I know that, Rusty's riffs have noticeably crunchier. Phil, like you said, like you nailed it, like you said perfectly. He's the one that starts taking you guys, more up tempo, speeds it up, slows it down.
100%. Right? And now that we've played long enough together, we know that, like even on the first record, we went in with kind of all these songs, like you said, pretty much done. And then when we started working with Phil would be like, well, hey, let me try something here. And we were like, whoa. And all of a sudden the songs groove more. I mean, our groove is from Phil and Morgan. Our rhythm section is fantastic. And it definitely has a groove to it. Right. So no matter what genre it reminds you of, I think the common theme in the record is there's a groove and a almost a funk to it of how things move around. And that's their pocket, it's where they sit. And, yeah, Rusty, he's a monster on guitar, and it's amazing, like thinking about what his influences are, and like he comes from like the 80s shred, which you hear in his solos sometimes, but the riffs that like some of the parts that got real doomy, a lot of that is Phil, we're jamming on something and Phil just drops the beat and Rusty just knows exactly what heavy riff to put in there. It's
nice.
It's great. It's fun to watch as a vocalist. I just kind of got to sit there and like, oh, this is so cool. In the jam room, I'm very, very lucky.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I mean, speaking of being a vocalist, that's the other thing I want to get to. Like, when I'm listening to a track like, for instance, Solar Rain. I mean, first of all, it's got to be probably the heaviest track you guys have done. But for you, vocally, man, that is aggressive. I mean, yeah, even Ancient Aliens, you got some parts in there too where you get aggressive. And I love hearing that. I mean, like you said, you really just, I think you brought a lot more range, I mean, that you obviously have, but you really brought it to this record, I think, compared to Secrets of the Black Moon, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate the kind words there. And I think that a lot of it comes from the quality of the music I feel like that we've written. It calls for it, and I've definitely had to push myself vocally on this record because, when some of these songs are being written, I'm like, oh crap, I've got to really bring it on this song, because that's one of the daunting things as a vocalist, at least from my standpoint, is, I'm usually the last one to put their parts down. And sometimes I'm like, okay, now I have got the responsibility of keeping this song at a high level and actually adding to it. And the band does a really great job giving me notes, which is cool. Like, I think what's really good about all of us is really good at constructive criticism with each of us within the room. There's no egos.
That's great. It's rare.
Yeah, believe me, if you've been in this business long enough, it's extremely rare. And Rusty's so good at, like Phil's like, giving a suggestion and vice versa. And I think what was really great in the studio is Phil especially was really good about like giving me some vocal notes. Like, hey man, just try, like, I've heard you do it live, so do it in here, that kind of thing. Because live, I lose myself on stage. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. I get so amped up and I'm just having a blast and going crazy. And the studio is definitely a different environment. And I was much more relaxed, I think, on this record.
Okay.
I think the environment at Yellow Dog Studios really helped. And I think that it allowed me to push and try things differently. And man, going on the road as much as we did last year, that my voice has gotten stronger. Like, I can tell, like, okay. I'm like I've been able to like do yells and things I'm like, I couldn't do before we went on the road.
Oh, okay.
And I don't, there's no rhyme or reason other than I just noticed that sometimes on the road I did something and I was like, oh, mental note, that's how I did that. And I'm going to try to do that again. And I've been able to replicate it. So yeah, it's been cool. And yeah, Solar Rain is by far, I think it's personally my favorite track because of how drastic the changes are in tempo and in vibes, and the end it gets so chaotic. And,
I know, I love it, man.
And it was one of my more proud moments because I don't, I've always said, hey, I'm a singer, I'm not really a screamer, and but that part called for some screaming, and I was like, I really had to dig down and find some ways to do it. And it's fun. There's some funny videos we'll probably post after the record's out of me in the studio, like yelling, screaming at the top of my lungs, and then almost completely passing out afterwards. There's some classic footage of that. It'd be funny.
Well, and you said something before, and I think that's what, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass because I'm talking to you. I mean, like I said, I really do. I feel you're one of the top, three, I would say, vocalists in the genre. And the reason why I
Wow,
feel
man,
that, as
thank
I
you.
said,
Thank you.
and the reason why I think so is a few reasons. Obviously, the range, as you said. I mean, really, when I heard, like you said, you add in the yells and the harsher tones. I mean, that just added a whole nother element. You also Tuesday Night Blues. I loved, the spoken, word narration in the verse parts there. But like you mentioned before, it's when your place within the song. You know when it's called for. You allow the music to breathe, and when you come in, it sort of like steers the musical wheel in terms of the energy and where it's going along. Like you said, obviously with Phil's, drums, but and it reminds me your approach, not your sound or style of your vocals, but your approach really reminds me a lot of John Garcia. What he did with Kaisen's classic records, he came in, he gave the song what it needed when it needed it, more importantly. And you do the same, and it shows. So, I mean, is that sort of your approach when it comes to like when you're gonna incorporate your vocals into the songs? It's just when and where you feel it needs to be, or is it a group effort? Talk about that a little.
Yeah, man. It's definitely a group effort. As I said, like I get a lot
Okay.
of great notes from the
Mhm.
band, but I think as a vocalist before, like because I write a lot of stuff. Well, I pretty much write all my vocals, on my own after
Mhm.
we've worked on the song, and then I kind of show it to the band or we show it in rehearsal. And it's funny that you mentioned John Garcia because I mean, obviously, if you're in this scene, he's a legend, and
Sure.
I grew up listening to Caius, like
Mhm.
from some of the beginning, and I had some people, different people that I've just within the scene, just talking about uh, people like John Garcia, for example. Uh, it was brought to me, it was brought to my attention that I guess I hadn't fully noticed it about how there was someone telling me where the discussion was about John Garcia. Do you like his earlier stuff or the stuff now? Because he's definitely changed,
Oh
as a
yeah.
vocalist. He's
Mhm.
still got that incredible range and everything, but his how he started with Caius and then kind of where he went with Caius and then where he is now with like Hermano and all those other projects that he's doing and Vistacino
Mhm.
and all that. And I was like, man, I really like now. And I didn't know why. I was like, well,
Mhm.
Caius's first Caius record just blew my mind, right? But
Mhm.
then as some of his later records went, I realized he got very good at letting the band breathe more.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that he got very good at when he is realizing, and it was somebody telling this to me, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Like I think he just got smarter. He's
Mhm.
been phenomenal from the beginning, but smarter going, hey, the guitars need to shine here. Hey, the bass, the drums need to shine here. And so I've always kind of like had that in the back of my mind because like what I was saying earlier about when I'm writing my parts, it would be very easy for me to like just stumble on everything and do too much and just try to be everywhere. And I do hear some bands sometimes where I'm like, man, if that vocalist would just like be quiet for a second.
Yeah.
Not saying they don't have a great
Sure.
voice, but
I know what
just
you're saying. Mhm.
there's just times where the band needs to shine, and I think that I'm very aware of that because, like I said, it's not about like my vocal parts aren't all right, guys. Back off. It's my turn
Mhm. I know what you're saying,
to
yeah.
be the star. That's
Mhm.
definitely not what any of us have in this band. I mean, Rusty's not going, okay, back off. It's my turn to solo.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, what does the song need? Where does it need to have its place? And I think that's not always a thing. Like I've sung in other projects, and I probably haven't been as aware of that. I think part of it might be just experience and age. We're all other than Morgan, who's Rusty's daughter. She's
Mhm.
young 20s, but she is an old soul, and she knows more about some music, from our age than we do.
Nice.
But
Very
like
cool.
it comes with that just being aware of what the song needs as opposed to what I'm not just always saying, what am I going to bring to this? How am I going to shine on the song? It's more like what's the song need?
Mhm.
And like the Tuesday Night Blues is a great example. I mean, that song just came about naturally. We were literally, I think we had just got done writing. So the three songs that we wrote in the studio just in one night was uh, Palm Reader,
Okay.
Death Perception, and Tuesday Night Blues. Palm Reader, when we were getting levels, started off as a joke. Phil started playing this like beat, pop, pop, pop. And we're all kind of like, like, because we've never written anything like that, But then Rusty ripped out this riff. We're like, holy shit. Yeah, keep it rolling. And luckily we were rolling. We're like, keep it going. And then that song we basically had done like an hour. The next day we kind of like fine-tuned it. Death Perception happened right after it, where same thing just happened. Rusty started playing this. Actually, the verse riff is a riff we wrote in the studio on the first record, and we never revisited. Like we just, we hadn't even played it since. He started playing it. We're like, oh yeah, maybe we should do something with that. I've forgotten all about that riff, and it turned into something totally different than we'd ever imagined. And I think we're all kind of like coming down off of like how cool we thought that Death Perception. Like I think that breakdown riff that Rusty wrote on that is one of the heaviest riffs he's written. Aside from maybe Solar Rain, but like it's really, really heavy. And we're all kind of like, dude, we're all kind of like, man, that was fun. That was cool. And then I think Morgan just started playing this little like lazy bass line, boom, doo 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 doo, like real lazy. And we're just kind of we started playing on it, and we're all kind of going, you know what? Then maybe this is not what How Does a Queen would normally do, but why not? And then Phil was the one that had the great idea to go, hey man, why don't you? Because I had written something for it vocally that was real lazy.
Okay.
Like verse, he goes, and he kept going like lazier. So lazier. And then finally he's like, he goes, fuck it, dude. Why don't you just try to like do some spoken word stuff? And so I was like, all right, and I really dug how it came out. So it's a little bit of everything on the record, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely, there is, and you just brought up the song "Death Perception." That's another one. You're speaking about, knowing where your place is in the song and so forth. That's another standout I feel, and of course that features Swedish vocalist Emma Naslund from GAUPA, and I mean I love her approach. It's like that kind of like that old school Bjork type of approach to it, right? Yeah, it's the first thing you notice when you hear that. But also, it was great because she pretty much sings the whole song. Obviously, you guys come in and do your duet on the chorus and so forth. But so, how did first of all, how did you get it? How did you get her on board? And also, when was it you decided? Well, you know what, this is better if it's just all her, and maybe you just kind of like you said, help her with the chorus part, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. We are so lucky to have Emma. She's such an amazing human. Her whole band, GAUPA, are such amazing people. And the relationship spawned when we played Fuzz Fest in Stockholm, Sweden, the Truck Fighters Fuzz Festival.
Okay.
In Sweden. And we got invited to go over, and we went. They played right after us. And so we were on the same stage. So we were, our merch tables were next to each other, and we were kind of talking to each other. And I had listened to them on my way over because I was checking out the bands that were on the bill. And I was like, man, I'm actually really excited about this band, GAUPA.
Oh, yeah.
This girl's vocal, because I hadn't listened to them before, but I was like, man, this girl can sing, but also the band's dynamics. They're just all phenomenal musicians. And then it was so funny because my brother was like, have you seen her like live? I go, no. And he's like, check this video out. So we go on YouTube. And she's like got awesome stage presence, right? Like she is a front person and she's moving around. And he's like, man, it's funny because he goes, she reminds me of you, about how like because I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff on stage that I don't even know about. I'm like, so cool. And then when we met, we talked for a little while. As soon as we got off stage, we were unloading stage while they're loading up. And she comes and goes, you are me. You are like me. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool that she even said that, right?
Yeah.
But we all became friends right away. And then we crossed paths again the next summer at Desert Fest London. And they played right before us. We were involved in one of the coolest musical experiences of my life. It was a desert jam session with Fatso Jetson, us, and a band called Sons of Alpha Centauri. And we all just improvised. So like Fatso went up, did like a couple of their songs. Then Sons of Alpha Centauri went up and they improvised. Oh, they've done some songs before together. I think it was called Yawning Suns.
Okay.
And they played some songs together. And then we got up there and we replaced basically where Sons of Alpha Centauri were, and Phil got up on drums and the rest of the band got up there, and we basically improvised this song that was awesome. And luckily we've got it recorded and we're going to probably make something out of it, but super cool. But GAUPA played right before us. Okay. And so we got to hang out again. And I told her after we got off stage, I was like, you know, it'd be super cool. When we get home, we're going to record an album. I would love for you to do something vocally on our record. It's just whatever you're willing to. And she was like, absolutely, yes. And I know a lot of times these things are just like empty gestures probably, but I was serious. Like I really wanted her involved. And we had, like I told you, we went in with a full album's worth of music. And I kind of had in the back of my head where we could put her on the record. Like I have this idea where this would be kind of cool, a song that we'd already written.
Okay.
Well, then when we wrote, like I told you, these 3 songs just kind of came out of nowhere. And so I had no lyrics for anything. I'm writing lyrics for the songs, and I'm working on, and I get the Death Perception, which I had titled as a placeholder. It actually was our engineer, Casey. Great title. He's like, well, that's so heavy. We're going to call it, and you just, you know, it's the night of all drinking and being stupid. And he said, Death Perception. I was like, dude, that's cool. Actually write that down. Actually, it's actually cool. And I was talking to the band going, hey, I think, why don't we just toss Emma a song? Like, not because I was going to give her like an idea, like here's where I see you being. How about we just give her something that has no foundation, it has no vocal parts, there's nothing that, so she can just completely have fun with. And we're all like, yeah, it's a good idea. And of course she's like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to do where do you think we first discussed? What do you think's the verses? What's the chorus is? Blah, blah, blah. All right. These are where these parts are. She goes, well, what parts do you want me to sing? And that's when I was like, do it all. Like, I don't, if you're going to be, let's not have you be a guest artist. Let's have you be a featured artist, because you are, she's a phenomenal vocalist.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, because I'm in my head, worst case scenario, if she comes back with something that we're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll just use this part. Right. We're good. We still have at least something there. Oh my God. She sent that back like in 2 days. She's like, I'm listening to it, but I've got to work. And then finally she's like, okay, I have time tonight. And she sent me almost exactly the same melody that you're hearing. Nothing for the choruses. She just did the verses. Okay. Right. And, but she was just making up words. There was no words. It was all just like sounds. And of course, I don't know a Swedish. It's like, hey, are you actually singing in Swedish? She's like, no, I'm just making up sounds. Like, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write lyrics based on what it sounds like you're saying in English, even though you're not singing English. And that's what we did. And then we kind of interesting. So I wrote all these lyrics, and then I kind of, I had an idea, Death Perception, of like how to make it make sense to what the song, I had an idea what the song would be about. And she'd kind of come back with me like, ooh, what about this word? I'm like, oh, really cool. And we would kind of go back and forth. And then I wrote a chorus for it. And even when I wrote the chorus, I was like, hey, I want you to sing it with me. So it's like she even doubled that. Right. And yeah, I couldn't be happy with how that song came out. And even to where we're like, hey, this is one of our best songs on the record. This is a single. And I know that it seems weird. Some people might go, why would you have a single where you're not even, because once again, I don't care. Whatever is the best song is the best song. And I was like, yeah, that's a single. That, in fact, we were almost trying to put it out first.
Oh, okay.
But we hit Ancient Aliens first, which I think was a good first release. It kind of let people know this album's gonna be a little bit heavier.
A little bit different. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah. So, well, you guys, now speaking of, Sweden, Europe, I mean, you got a European tour, right, coming up this summer. Correct, right? Starting in July. Now I know. Last time I talked to you, I remember when you guys did that run with Fatso Jetson over there. I mean, you guys did some crazy, like you had like hardly any days off, right?
Oh man,
are you doing something like that again, or are you going to kind of relax a little bit?
No, that almost killed us.
All right.
But I mean, it was awesome. We did 34 shows in 36 days.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was insane. I mean, we had an absolute blast. I think, but there were a couple times towards the end when we were like, oh shit, like, this is rough. But it's funny though, at the same time, you get so in tour mode where you wake up and it's like, where are we going today? And I love that. And I think as a band, we like that. There's some, like, I don't know, man. It's brutal on your body. It's brutal on, you get no sleep, and it's not like it's the most lucrative thing in the world, right? You have to have a love for it. Phil always says, someone asked the other night, we played a show. It was our third show in a row, and this little run we're doing right now, regionally. And I was like, and someone asked, like, man, how do you guys play at such a high level every night? And Phil's like, I love pain. He was kidding, but at the same time, it's like,
it's true in a way. Yeah,
you kind of have to,
Yeah.
But so yeah, but it was such a good learning experience that, hey, we kind of learned like where we were comfortable and where we were just, where the sweet zone was, like where we were really loving like the tour and whatnot. And so and then of course, so we had like, oh, we can probably do this much. And then of course we're like, oh, work restraints, this, that, whatever. We're going to do about a month this time. We do have some built-in days off, mainly because one of the biggest drawbacks of tour is that you get to go to all these amazing places, but you don't get to experience them.
Yeah.
You experience them from the window of a van, like, oh my God, that's an incredible church or an incredible building or structure, but you're like in the van because you got to get somewhere. And so there's a couple towns we were very fortunate to meet some really cool people. And we've been, told if you come to our town, take the next day off. We want to show you around. And it's actually worked out. Not every place, but in a couple places it's worked out. We plan on doing that, getting to see the city and getting to see some places that we kind of want to experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, you got to enjoy it while you're over there. You know what I mean? At least see, because you never know if you're going to get back to certain places and so forth, man. So yeah.
Honestly, just because you never know. You never know. We're going to do this until, we're told we can't anymore. And for whatever reason, Europe, we've done very, very well in Europe, in comparison to the States. There's 1,000,001 factors as to why, that we've pretty much dissected, and we can see why it works there. And so, but we love it. And it's more beneficial for us as a band to go over there. They tend to treat bands a little differently.
They do.
They take care of us, and and the whole idea that we are coming over from Texas, that it's a cool factor for us there too, which really helps. And we're excited to get over there. And we keep trying to push the envelope. Like, okay, now where can we go next? Where have we not gone? We're like, how do we get into Latin and South America? Okay. How do we get to Australia? How do we get to Japan? We're like, all these wheels are turning, because you're like, you never know if it's ever going to happen, or like it won't happen if you don't book it. But I'm like, I'm going to try to book it. I'm going to make it happen, and we'll see if it does. If it makes financial sense, of course.
Yeah.
But we'll try it.
Well, I think it's really wise. I mean, like you said, in terms of, for the band, I mean, it's you hear bands talk about it all the time. The greatest thing about touring Europe or Australia, whatever it is when you make fans over there, they're fans for life.
They really
Unfortunately
are.
and here in the States, unfortunately, right, it's more of a trendier thing.
Right.
People are into the music for a while, then they get out of it and they forget about it. Like you said, it has a different, I don't know
Yeah.
what the
And
word
don't
you
get me
use,
wrong.
but
We
yeah.
have we have some of our best hardcore fans are here in the States, no doubt.
Sure.
But it's so much easier, it seems, to make a diehard fan in Europe.
Right,
Like
yeah.
when we've been over there, like uh, we've been over there technically 3 times. We've done 2 tours through Europe, and then we did Stockholm. But even when we went to Stockholm, but at festival, like we see some of the same people that we've seen on the road in Europe. Like they come out in droves to see us, and they travel. We had some people that saw us like 4 times on our last tour.
Oh, wow.
And,
Yeah.
and I don't mean like an hour down the road. I mean like, like they took a journey to come see
Wow.
us, and us, and
That's
of course
cool,
Fatso
man. Yeah.
Jetson as well. But it was just so cool to see that, and yeah, it's a different dynamic. There's definitely a hard and heavy rock and roll and metal is still very much in vogue in Europe. Like
Yeah.
there's still a scene for it, and we're talking young and old, like
Mhm.
all ages. It's still very prominent. Whereas in the States, we know when we play a show, well, we always say, oh, it's the 40 and up club, right? It's the
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah,
we're playing
mostly.
for. But it's been pretty cool recently. I've actually been really noticing it, and I've pointed out to the band every time I see it, is that what's happening now is a lot of the people that come to our shows are bringing their kids,
Oh, really?
because their kids are like, teenagers or
Almost
young
20 or
20s or something,
something.
right? Because our fans are 40s, 50s, right?
That's a good point.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm like, man, there is hope for the
There's hope.
future of music,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's some indoctrination of these parents who are bringing these kids out. And a couple times, super cool. We were in Houston last week. There was this mother daughter who came up to the stage, or I'm sorry, came up to the merch table, and I just naturally went to the mom. Hey, thank you for bringing your daughter out. She goes, oh, no, 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 she brought me here. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
that's
Even
cool. Like,
better.
what are
Yeah.
the chances? What are the chances of that? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, speaking of festivals, man, of course, I have you here, and of course, talking about bands from Europe, Ripplefest Texas 2024, man, coming up this September. First thing that I noticed immediately was the amount of international flavor that you got making up this year's lineup with the Swedish bands, obviously Dozer Truck Fighters, Domcraft. You got Mars
Yeah.
Red Sky from France, man. That's a different flavor now to this year's festival. What was
Yeah.
that something you just consciously were like, you know what, let's get some
Well, it's something I've
yeah.
always wanted to do, but
Okay.
I'm so excited to start with this lineup. Like oh man, I don't know. I was like, man, I'll never be able to top 2 years ago, and then I was like, oh, I'll never be able to top last year, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to top this year. This is phenomenal, but it just kind of came organically with the international thing. It just kind of came about. I tried it last year with some bands, and it's hard to get into the States for some of
Sure.
these bands. It's not
expensive, yeah.
it's not
Especially
cost effective, right?
No, yeah.
But kind of what happened is we became friends with the guys in Dozer.
Okay.
We played same thing. We played over in Sweden. We played Denmark with them. We've played, Berlin with them. We played in these different festivals, and we've become friends now, and which is super cool. And I'm always near like, hey man, you guys need to come to Texas. Hey, you guys need to come to Texas. Hey, I got this festival I do. And I guess, what I'm very happy with is that the festival has got some notoriety now, and people know what Ripplefest Texas is.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, man, that festival looks so great last year, and we want to come. And I had Dozer booked even before last year's festival started. Like I announced to them on the Saturday of last year's festival, right? Like
Wow.
I had them, because I was like, I'm announcing it as quick as I can, so you can't back out on me.
Yeah, that especially, yeah.
Because we're gonna make this. We're gonna make this happen. And really, that was the one that I had. And before I announced any bands, I had them. And then it's so cool that it's always been me seeking out bands and agents. Like literally every single band in here is pretty much handpicked by me. Like, hey, this is a band I like. I want to bring them, and I have to like, work the alleys and try to like, hey, let's get to this agent. And hey, yeah, whatever. I'm a trustworthy guy. They'll get paid. Blah blah, all that stuff, right? This time I've had agents and bands reach out to me, and it's been really, really. So it's really cool. We're starting to turn the curve, I guess here. And we're really turn the corner, I guess is what I mean to say, but on this, but an agent who works with Dozer was like, oh, well, would you be interested in Domcraft? I was like, dude, I've been trying to play a show with Domcraft. We were in Europe. Like I was hitting them up like, hey, we're in Europe. Let's play some shows together. I've always been on these guys. And they're like, yeah. So, and then Kal-El was a band that we have also become friends with by playing some festivals with. And they were one of the most punishing, crushingly heavy bands I've ever seen live. I'm so glad they played after us in Sweden when we played on the same stage. It was crushing.
Nice.
And like I love their albums, but live, unreal. And I'd become friends with those guys. And once again, they reached out to me like, hey, we'd love to get over to play in Texas. I'm like, well, it's tough to get over here, but if you're willing to do it, we'll make it happen. And so I announced a handful of bands, that Saturday. And then all of a sudden, actually, you know what? And it was Mars Red Sky. So I had Mars Red Sky and Dozer. Those are the two bands. The same agent who had Mars Red Sky. I was like, yes, I love Mars Red Sky. And then when I announced these bands, all of a sudden, like other agents and bands, European bands, were like, well, if they're playing it, that means we can play it. So, and I don't know, man, it just kind of came about, and I'm definitely not mad about it. I've got some really impressive bands.
Oh yeah.
That are coming over. And then even Belzebong, they're coming over.
Right?
There's a heavy European flair, which is really cool. And it's kind of working out for me because I do worry about the future of bands from Europe coming over here. I don't know how much you pay attention to some of the things that are going on, but like there's a lot of really terrible things happening as far as like visa fees.
Absolutely. It's insane.
250%. And it's really, really bad. And so I do worry about the future of that. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those deals where like, hey, it's happening this year. So come enjoy it, while you can. Yeah. Some of these bands are unfortunately just not the bands at this level. The bands at the super, echelon high.
Oh, sure.
Selling out auditoriums. Yeah, of course. But, the bands at this level, it's going to be tough. So we hope that this festival will do really, really well, of course, so we can continue in the future. But it's going to take, if the festival's going to have to do better in the future for me able to afford to get these guys over, if that makes any sense, right? It's going to be harder. But we're going to do everything we can to make it happen. But that does help. It does make this festival have a special feel that I think there's people aware of that, and they're going to come out and check this festival out.
Yeah. Well, like you said, this is definitely raises the bar, or I should say the notoriety, as you said, now people, it's not just obviously a bunch of bands from the States. It's now it's international. Like you said, you're going to have people, bands reaching out to you left and right. And I'd actually, just to follow up with that, I'd have to think that that's really probably one of the most difficult chores you probably have when you're putting on a festival like this, is really who to choose, because you got every band, right, and in the world that wants to be a part of something like this, yet
it is
only so many spots. You got people's feelings you don't want to hurt. I mean, really got to be super difficult.
Yeah,
how you do
that's by far the hardest part, because I've got 2 bands on this bill, and there's another 300 bands that I wanted to book. And I have to say no to. That's the hard part. And I'm like, I want to say yes to everybody. And I think what kind of happened 2 years ago is I didn't say no. And then I was like, oh shit, I've got too many bands. Like I'm gonna lose my ass. What am I doing?
Mhm.
But learning curve, and I had to learn how to
Sure.
say no.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's tough, but it's just, and there's no slack to any of those bands that I had to say no to. There's a million reasons that I had to say no, and it's not because they're not good enough to play my festival, but I have to curate a lineup that you know is unique enough that makes people want to come out.
Mhm.
I don't want to have all the same sounding bands, or and I take very seriously when I because I have no overlapping at this festival. I take all my slots very serious, and I look to see who's playing after whom, in between whom, on which stage, and I really want it to have a flow and a
Mhm.
feel, have a vibe of the festival. It's already, like, to me, the biggest family reunion of the year. Everyone that comes is family. It's like everyone's hugging, and it's, hey, I saw you last year. Hey, I saw you at Desert Fest, New York. It's like
Mhm.
everyone knows each other. I love it.
That's
I
great.
love it so much. And but I really want, because I think about what I want out of a festival. First thing was I didn't want to overlaps. I don't want to make a decision. I don't have to
Mhm.
tell. I don't have to say, well, I got to go see this band and miss this band, right?
Mhm.
But I also want the music to flow. Like I want a band like the Autolith, who's
Oh,
got
yeah.
this crazy violin,
Mhm.
you know, s- wall of sound thing going, to be playing then right after somebody who is more like straightforward rock and roll,
Mhm.
right? As opposed to just like all the doom bands
And
right
once
here.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want to curate a lineup. So it's important to get something from all over the place, and then highlighted by some legends, is like, got to bring like Fatso Jetson. I got to bring the legends, the desert
Sure.
legends, and the cool thing to do with the Rubber Snake Charmers is like my favorite part of the festival, is them
Mhm.
improvising and creating
Yeah.
live on stage. So it's got a little bit of everything, but it is tough because I have a lot of bands reach out to me, and I just have to say I don't have any room.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I'm curious to, for now you've been playing, obviously, like you were talking about, you've been playing festivals, especially over in Europe. Now, I mean, being on the other side, now playing festivals across the world, I mean, are there things that you take from maybe experiences that you have as a musician at a festival and sort of maybe bring it then to Ripplefest, Texas when you're putting
Yeah,
that together at times too? Yeah.
absolutely. And a lot of that's going to be behind the scenes that like people aren't going to see, right?
Sure. Hmm.
Because I know that as a festival curator, I'm like thinking about it from the fan's perspective, right? Like
Hmm.
this is what I would want as a fan. No
Hmm.
overlapping, great light show, you know, very, very top-notch sound system, great venues, good food, good drink selection, all that stuff, right? The stuff that you think of
Hmm.
as a fan. Lots of bathrooms, that's huge important.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I
like,
know,
"Hey,
right?
increase the
Mm.
budget on the bathrooms. I want a lot of bathrooms, clean
Hmm.
with air conditioning." Our bathrooms have air conditioning at the
Air
far.
conditioning?
They have
Wow,
air
man.
conditioning, they're not porta
Impressive.
potties. They're air conditioned, portable air conditioned bathrooms. We're
That's
big on that
awesome.
kind of stuff, right? But
Hmm.
going to Europe, for example, and touring Europe, playing festivals there, playing festivals in the States, and seeing the difference in how the bands are treated, just festivals or just gigs alone, the
Hmm.
mentality in the States of, here's your 2 drink tickets, you play this set, as soon as you're done, get the hell out of the club kind of thing,
Hmm.
as opposed to how we're treated in Europe and the festivals too. So a lot of the behind the scenes, like I'm huge on, I take care of the bands. The bands are,
Hmm.
I encourage the bands hanging out all 4 days, like make a
Hmm.
weekend of it, mingle with the people, and a lot of them do. And because I
Hmm.
was like, "Hey, I'm gonna like the bands, I'm gonna feed you all 4 days. I'm gonna give you drinks all 4 days. We're gonna take care of you because I want you to hang out because that's part of the experience for me."
Hmm.
Is, it's cool when, you're walking at the fest you're watching a band at the festival, and you look to your right, and it's Nick Oliveri is also watching the band right next to you.
Awesome.
Like
Yeah.
that's what you want, and
Hmm.
I think that's important. So I definitely pick from, when we go to like Desert Fest Berlin, and how well we were treated and how well we were fed and how well, I'm like, man, this is what, as a musician, this is what I want.
Hmm.
And I mean, think about it. When you're taken care of as a band, you're going to perform better,
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
and everybody wins. So
Hmm.
it's an extra expense and things, but I'm not trying to make any money off this. I'm trying to, my brother and I always joked that when he and I put this together, it's like we're throwing a wedding every year for a daughter we don't have. So that's kind of what it is,
Well, and there's another thing. Obviously, people have been, we talk about Ripplefest Texas. Is now that obviously you probably get this question asked a lot, but now that you're no longer on Ripple and you're with Magnetic Eye, I would have to say you're going to probably continue to keep the name. I would think just because, at least for the marketing and branding purposes, for business purposes alone. I mean, right? I mean, you don't have any plans to change it, do you?
No, because I mean, it's to me. The Ripplefest thing only came about because I'd never done this before, and I was excited that I was in a band that got signed to a label and got signed to Ripple, and I was like, and I had seen these Ripple fests like in, I think I'd seen some in San Fran, I'd seen like one in Germany and stuff. I'm like, man, so I asked Todd Severin, the CEO of Ripple, like, hey, how do we have one in Texas? And he's like, well, people do it. It's not. I never do them. It's people in bands. Like, oh, cool. I'm going to do one in Texas. And so it just, that was just the name, right? It just kind of came about. But it was never exclusive to bands on Ripple or anything like that. And Todd's super cool with that. And, but like everything financially on this is pretty much falling on me. So it's like doing whatever I want to do. And I'm going to bring the bands I want to bring. And everyone in the scene is a family. I mean, why would why would we not want to raise like bands like not on my label Ripple at the time or Magnetic Eye now? Of course I want to raise those bands up, but I want to raise everybody up because everybody wins when that happens, And so there's no plans on changing it. I mean, I do think that we're making a more concerted effort to know that it's my Lick of My Spoon Productions is the one who puts this together because, I have hopes and plans down the road to do more things with Lick of My Spoon, on the festival route. But really that's only going to happen if the success of Ripplefest continues. Cause I'm way in the negative on making anything on this, right?
Oh, I'm sure you are. Yeah.
And I don't care. I do not care. It's but it's if we're trending in the right direction and to where maybe one day I'm like, maybe it's but I don't, as opposed to putting that in my pocket, I want to turn it into, another cool fest or something. Right. And let the Lick of My Spoon name be something that's recognizable for a band. Like I want a band to just go, hey, I'm going to call Lick of My Spoon to see if they can help me get a show in Austin.
I got you. Okay.
I love helping bands out. It's super, super satisfying to me. So, I love making those connections with those bands too. So there's a more concerted effort to put that name out there, but there's Ripplefest Texas is, I mean, I love that Longhorn logo they've come up with, right? I'm going to keep that going forever.
It is a cool logo. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the artist does an awesome job. Once he did that, 2 years ago, I was like, we're doing that every year. That's
nice.
And we're using a different Texas animal. Like I got the armadillo. Backwards over here, and this year that horned lizard. Oh, looks so cool.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, it is. One other thing I asked you too before we wrap up, Ryan. I noticed I remember we talked last year when I interviewed you. We talked about. I know you said you were doing something about like a documentary, or you plan on doing something with the breweries, the microbrews, or something.
Correct.
And I did notice that you've got your own beer now too, Ancient Alien here from Division Brewing out of Texas. Man, I know it's a hazy IPA. I remember you telling me you're more of a crusher guy, but I'm sure that it probably tastes pretty sweet. It's got citra hops, so I love citra hops in there,
and it's so well balanced. Like it's delicious. So like even someone like me, because I'm a crushers guy, but I'm a 30 IBU and below guy.
Okay,
and this checked in at 22, so it's perfect.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Anything you're doing with that?
3% though. It's high octane, so you got to be careful.
Sure. Those hazies always are, man. Those things are, they're strong. But are you still doing something with that brewery thing that you were talking about?
We did our brewery tour. We did one, and we're hoping to do more.
Okay.
And truth be told, I'm kind of doing that myself as far as like we're videoing and editing. So the editing has become, oh my God. It's so in depth that I didn't realize. Mainly because I'm trying to chop it. I don't want to release an 8-hour documentary. No one's going to watch that, So I'm trying to trim things down. But then I got really busy. We went on tour for 6 weeks. We did, gone to the studio, all these different things, right? So it fell on the back burner some, but I revisited it not long ago, and stepping away actually gave me some ideas of how to make it work. And so I'm going to revisit editing that, because our ultimate thing is we're going to do another brewery tour. It'll be like, I don't know what we're going to call it, like part 2 or the second leg or whatever, right? We'll do different areas, and ideally when we are ramping up that tour, I can start releasing videos from the first
other one.
Tour, yeah, because we drank a lot of really good beer, and that actually didn't help the videoing. There's times where we're enjoying the beer we're enjoying the beer so much. I'm like, oh shit, we didn't record anything here. Like, crap, like it happened a lot. It happened a lot because it was so much fun. But yeah, we've been fortunate enough. Division Brewery made a beer for us. There's a brewery here near me called Guadalupe Brewery. We have a show this Sunday, which from no matter what day someone's watching this, that's like in 5 days from now. They made a High Desert Queen peanut butter vanilla honey ale, so I'm pretty excited.
Oh wow! Oh yeah.
It's a golden ale with peanut butter. They have a Texas honey ale that's delicious, and they added peanut butter and vanilla, no extract, all good stuff. Oh man, I'm so excited. So we're getting beer made for us. I mean, this is like a dream. This is awesome.
2 beers now. Wow. I mean, one that's awesome. Just like 2. Ooh, man, that's great, man.
This is me thinking, going, maybe this brewery thing is a good idea, and maybe if the documentary goes well, maybe there'll be more beers, because I've already got some ideas. I've got all kinds of beer ideas I can throw a brewery if they're willing to make it. I mean, who's going to make the head honcho dark Mexican lager? That's what I want.
Oh,
that's
okay.
what
Look at you. Yeah, you got plenty of ideas.
I've already got it in here. I've already got it.
Nice. Now, did you collaborate at all with any of these two? Or
yeah, so both of these breweries, like I reached out because we played Division Brewery just a couple of days ago, and so that's when that beer came about, and I reached out, and we also did part of the brewery documentary. We did a leg there, so we have some footage that will be from that place as well. And it was, I was very straightforward, like, hey, we are beer nerds, I would love to do a collaboration with you, and I gave them a list of suggestions, and they came back, hey, that Ancient Aliens Hazy IPA, that sounds like something we would love to do. And so then I got let them do, like, I had the idea, and then
so you had the idea initially,
and I let them do like what it is they would do for the beer. The peanut butter one we're having done is that we had a hard time as a band going, hey, what do we all like? And everyone has like different tastes.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? Let's not even talk about beer. What are some things we like? And we're all watching us on the road. And I'm not a sweet tooth guy, but I'm a sucker for like peanut butter. And everybody in the band is like, on the roads, like getting snacks that have like, whether it's peanut butter pretzels or peanut butter, like Snickers bar or whatever else, right? And so I was like, hey, I think we can all agree on peanut butter. And we was like, oh hell yeah! So we did that. So it was perfect.
Hell yeah!
We do actually collaborate because we want it to have something about us that's in that beer.
Okay, not just just another IPA or another whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. Not that I'm going to get turned down someone going, hey, we'd like to make you a beer. I'd be like, cool, do it.
Sure.
Fine. This is what we want. Sure. But yeah, it's we do like to have our own little twist on it too. Like for example, Ancient Aliens, that's a song title, obviously, of our song on our record. So it was really my idea of making a Ancient Aliens hazy IPA is like, it would be like introducing all these different hops together, right? To make
something different
to make it work. Yeah. To make it alien, and it's all cloudy and beautiful, a beautiful hazy, so it's exactly what we wanted. So it's cool.
Hell yeah. Well, if you're in Texas, go pick up one of those delicious High Desert Queen Ancient Alien Ales. And for everyone else out there, it's not in Texas, you go ahead and pick up the new record, Palm Reader from High Desert Queen. It's out now on Magnetic Eye Records. Right. What's the best place to send everybody to go buy the album, keep up with the band in general? Let everyone fill in everybody where they should go.
Yeah, highdesertqueen.com. We're actually just started, I think, right before we went on air here. So depending on how long this takes to come out, we just started a promo for if you buy, like, the first 50 people will buy the record on our website. We're gonna autograph it and put you in a raffle for we did these. If you've seen the Ancient Aliens music video, it was a spoof on They Live, and when you put the sunglasses on,
I figured that. Okay,
you put the sunglasses on, everything was High Desert Queen theme, like Listen to High Desert Queen. So I made these Listen to High Desert Queen shirts and hats and stickers. So we're going to throw like a big bundle of all that in. So we'll raffle stuff like that off. So the website's the best place for everything. It's going to have our tour schedule, everything. And of course, from the day-to-day stuff, Instagram and Facebook are still probably our best places to kind of catch out what we're doing. I know everyone loves to use Bandcamp for whatever reason. We just never do a lot on it. It's just easier for me to do the social thing and the website, like, because you can order everything we have merch wise. You can get on our website.
Okay, fantastic. All right, highdesertqueen.com,
and that comes straight to us. That's what I like. Is
even better.
Yeah, it's 100% is for us, which helps us make more and get back on the road.
Absolutely fantastic. Once again, Palm Reader, High Desert Queen. Check it out. Fantastic sophomore release. Ryan, man, thanks so much for coming on with me today, man, and good luck on the road and everything. And yeah, man, great record. Glad you guys
appreciate the kind words, man. And Matt, it's a pleasure to talk to you again, man. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.